On today's episode of The Front Row, we are in the downtown Lubbock Public Media Studios in the heart of the Cultural District, and our special guest on the program today is Gordon Wilkerson, who is the host of Lubbock Public Media's new program, Archive West Texas. And we're going to explore that show today, and we're going to talk about Gordon and his influence on the community. Gordon, welcome to The Front Row.
Thank you, Clint.
First of all, let's talk a little bit about you and your history in our community. Did you grow up here?
I did. I was born in the 60s. Lived here pretty much my entire life, except for a few years away at college. Been involved in a family business for a number of years. We operate Wilkerson Storage Company, which is a third-party logistics company, and also Wilkerson Properties, which leases and develops industrial property.
How did you have the idea for a historically based show? And I guess we should probably backtrack and say, what is Archive West Texas?
Archive West Texas is essentially a community oral history project. Our mission is to preserve and share history of Lubbock and West Texas, one story at a time. And our success in that endeavor depends entirely upon volunteers who are willing to tell their stories, which we enthusiastically encourage our listeners to do. I think at the heart of the genesis of the project is just that I love good stories, and everybody has one. And I've reached the stage in life where some of the best storytellers I know are sadly passing away or no longer with us, and I'm thinking, man, I wish I could hear that story one more time, because nobody can tell it like the person who lived it. So we want to capture as many of those stories as we can from the individuals that lived them and share them with our listeners.
So this is, like you said, kind of a self-limiting, self-time limiting thing, where if you don't get the stories now, you'll never get them. How did you think about what you wanted to do just in terms of historical knowledge, oral histories? When did this occur to you, and when did you decide you wanted to pursue it?
There's a pretty broad base of academic coursework in the discipline. There are projects at Baylor University where I first became acquainted with the procedures and the disciplines. The Southwest Collection here at Tech, I think, has a pretty active program in that. I've taken a little bit of a personal interest in it, just in our family. Sometimes you hear your parents tell the same stories to the point where they get repetitive, but then there's part of me that says, like, let's sit down, let's get that on tape or right, digitized, or however we do it these days, just so someday grandson or granddaughter wants to listen to that, they'll be able to. Right. And I think that's hopefully a gift for future generations.
And there were a lot of really significant people in the formation of what we now celebrate out here in West Texas, right? I mean, but you said like everybody has a story, but there are some who were seminal people, right?
Absolutely. In the overall scheme of history, Lubbock's a relatively new place, but I think even today the culture maintains the pioneering spirit that you saw in the early 20th century. If you were a settler in West Texas, you were glad to have a neighbor because you knew they needed you and you needed them. And sure, that dynamic is not entirely the same as it was, but some of that spirit is still integral to this part of the world and important. And those are the type stories we try to share.
Well, I noticed I was out at the Ranching Heritage Center the other day, and I saw those buildings, and I thought of your program because I thought, oh, there are people that went with those buildings that have a history, the area around here, what it is today. And I thought this is like the oral part of what we can visually see at the Ranching Heritage Center in a way.
True. And I subscribe to the theory that history is made by individuals who do the right thing for the right reason at the right time, or the wrong thing for the wrong reason at the wrong time. But history is a compilation of individual decisions and individual actions, and sometimes individual inactions. So all that can make for compelling storytelling. And those are the stories we're looking for and the stories we're trying to share.
So the program we're talking about is Archive West Texas, which has begun to air on our station, Classical 105.7. It airs at 10:30 on Saturday mornings and at 6 p.m. on Sunday afternoons. And Gordon, tell us a little bit about some people that you have in mind. Surely with the start of the show, you've thought of some folks and kind of want to begin to line up people. Who are some of the folks that we can enjoy on the show?
Some of our early guests will be leaders in the Lubbock business community, leaders in the Lubbock medical community, hopefully leaders in education, leaders in government, and just good, hardworking people that have been good friends and good neighbors. So we cover the waterfront and find interesting stories in all walks of life in West Texas.
I know that James Odom has been on the show already, and he was a longtime coach at one of our area high schools, right?
He was the first football coach at Monterey High School.
Right.
When they opened, I think it was the late 50s.
Yeah.
And part of the program was he also got volunteered to be the golf coach. Before he could coach golf, he had to go out and buy a set of golf clubs. But he did it. He was a great he did a great program. I think our next guest will be Curtis Griffith, who is chairman and CEO of Citibank or South Plains Financial at this point. And he has a fascinating story about how his family got to the South Plains and how through their agricultural interests they ultimately took a stake in a financial institution in Morton, and how that has grown to become the bank that it is today. That's a great story. Had a really wonderful interview with Dr. Donald Bricker, who was a cardiothoracic surgeon that established, did the first open heart surgery along with Dr. Robert Salem, who we also interviewed. So those two gentlemen provided some really great perspective on cardiothoracic surgery and its establishment in Lubbock, and how that has grown to be such an important segment of our community. Have a very interesting interview with Henry Martinez, who was a colleague of the late architect Robert Bruno, who's famous for some sculpture work out at Tech, and maybe most famous for the steel house out at Ransom Canyon. That was a very, very interesting interview. And we've got a number of other guests lined up as well. So
these are all fascinating people who had so much to do with pioneering things here on the South Plains, and we're trying not to miss anybody, right? So if people have suggestions, they should let us know, right?
Absolutely. We welcome suggestions for guests. Send us an email, info@classical1057.org, or call the station, or reach out to me.
Sounds great. Gordon Wilkerson is our guest on the front row today. And Gordon, best of luck with your show, which is Archive West Texas, which will air on Saturdays and on Sundays here on the station. And we hope it all goes well. And thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much, Clint.